Hello, it's Lynn from Strait from the Homeland. Welcome back to the channel. Just a quick update about the Persian Gulf and the what looks like imminent land invasion by the American forces to try and secure the Straits of Hormuz. For those unfamiliar with the Persian Gulf, sometimes known as the Arabian Gulf, is this body of water here between the Arabian Peninsula and the Iranian coastline here, and specifically the Strait of Hormuz, which is about 39 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, between this island here, shaped like a shark, called Kish Island, and the Musandam Peninsula. This is part of Oman, but this peninsula is also shared here with the UAE. Uh, this area here is the one that is the area of contention. So you'll also hear about the other choke point, possibly south of the Arabian Peninsula, and that's the Bab al Mandeb, which is controlled by Yemeni forces down here. So the Houthis from the Yemen are in charge of this part, including the capital Sana'a of Yemen. And so they're putting additional pressure on this area of the Red Sea, which goes up towards the Suez Canal to the north. Here's the Suez Canal. So the area that we're mainly focused on, though, is this area here in the Persian Gulf. And specifically, if we zoom in here, just south of the Iranian coast is an island called Karg. This is an island that some people speculate the Americans will attack because 90% of the Iranian oil and gas is loaded here. But I do not think so because this island is quite small. It couldn't possibly accommodate thousands of troops. And what purpose would it serve? Because it's nowhere near the Strait of Hormuz, which is further to the south here. If we move down to the Strait of Hormuz, we do see that the likely place that the Americans will try and attack is Kishim Island, but they can't come from the Gulf of Oman out here, east of the Musandam Peninsula, because they would be subject to all sorts of uh, defensive measures from the Iranians in this area here. So my guess is that the Americans might send some of their forces like this. They may send some paratroopers by air, but my guess is that they're going to try and use UAE territory, specifically Ras Al Khaimah, which is down here, to be able to attack this Khesham Island. This island is quite long, so it has enough room to maneuver. And of course, it commands the Strait of Hormuz. But the problem is that there's a big city here. Over 500,000 people are in Bandar Abbas. And of course, the mountains here are quite high. These mountains obviously overlook the island, and to my mind, this would just be a killing field. I don't see that the American troops, no matter how brave or strong they are going to be able to hang on to this island. So the other possibility for the Americans, and it's one I've talked about before, and that's a diversionary attack from the northwest, and that's from Azerbaijan, because from Azerbaijan there are at least two Zionist Israeli bases here in the southern part of Azerbaijan. And Azerbaijan has made its own claims on the so-called Azerbaijani provinces of Iran. Do not be confused; these provinces existed before Azerbaijan existed. Azerbaijan didn't exist as a state, recognized internationally sovereign state until 1991, until the fall of the Soviet Union. Before that, it was only created in the 1920s by the Soviet Union as a sop to the Tatar people who lived there, and they renamed themselves as Azerbaijanis and took the name of the adjacent province of what was then Persia, which of course upset the Persians at the time. So we expect there's maybe a 50-50 probability that Azerbaijanis, encouraged by Israelis and some special forces that we know have gone to Azerbaijan from the US, will try and attack and try and hold this area to the south of Armenia, cutting off Armenia and giving Azerbaijan and the Turks, here's Turkey here, their long planned for Turan corridor to join up the Turkic lands. So that would be their reward. But of course, the Iranians are waiting for them. They're not stupid people. If nothing else, the world must be waking up to the fact that the Iranians are very smart. They have Trump by the balls here. He doesn't know what to do. And for me, this is the last desperate attempt by a failing American empire. And in fact, the repercussions of all of this will probably be for generations afterwards, much worse than the Iraqi war, because I think it's going to be a humiliating exercise. Not only that, I think it'll be the end of the United Arab Emirates if they do indeed support the Americans to attack. Bahrain, which is, I think, more than 80% Shia, just like the Iranians, that already is under huge threat. And of course, Kuwait, where we know that the Kuwaitis have allowed HIMARS, US HIMARS attack from Kuwaiti soil on Iranian territory, so that's under threat as well. More than that, we know that in Iraq, the Americans have left the world's largest so-called embassy from Baghdad, and the popular resistance movement, the forces there, they are basically now in charge of Iraq. The Iraqi parliament have given them permission to attack not only whatever residual American forces and interests are in Iraq, but also to attack the Syrian border here. So that's obviously with a view to try and come towards the Lebanon area. And speaking of Lebanon, just touching on that for a moment, we see that the Israelis, as I predicted earlier, have been taking a pounding. The so-called weakened Hezbollah has been firing hundreds of missiles into Israel, and they've had to evacuate, I think, the northern part of Israel. And I predict at some stage that the tables will turn and that the Hezbollah will actually enter Israel at some stage. It's the beginning of the end for Israel in many ways, not least because they're being pounded by the Iranian ballistic rockets. So that's it. That's the general overview. I believe that the next couple of weeks are going to be pivotal in this war. The Americans will not be able to sustain it. The Iranians have done a great job with propaganda because the world is now pretty much with them. They see who the aggressor is, and they understand that Trump is out of his mind, and it's going to cost the American economy trillions. And my poor Australian countrymen are going to be suffering with a horrible economic downturn. And the Foreign Minister for Australia, Penny Wong, all she can say is to ask Iran, who's the victim of aggression, to try to de-escalate. It's shameful. I want to put that on record. So let's hope that there's not so much carnage, and that we here in Armenia, just here, are not going to be on the receiving end. But regardless, let's just pray for the world's future, that this doesn't go nuke or anything stupid like that, and that the Americans understand at the earliest point that this is an unwinnable war, and that they have to remove Trump and all his cohort from the White House, and that for the sake of the world's peace, the entity that's called Israel returns in peace to what we used to call it, Palestine. Free Palestine. This is Len from Straight Talk from the Homeland. Please like, share, and subscribe.